You are listening to Housekeepers Chat by the United States Department of Agriculture from 1927. Disclaimer: this is read from a historic archive document. Do not assume content reflects current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices.
This broadcast is from Tuesday, January the 11th of 1927.
Ironing clothes, cooking vegetables, and making cakes are three of the several topics discussed in Aunt Sammy's talk today. The recipes have been tested and approved by the United States Bureau of Home Economics.
Do you ever stop to think about the importance of little things? Take safety pins, for instance. The morning paper says 1 billion safety pins were manufactured in the United States in 1 year. Seems as if there should be enough pins to go around, especially in these petticoat-less days. Safety pins have a history. The Romans used safety pins before the Christian era. Perhaps Julius Caesar himself spent as much time hunting safety pins to keep his toga from hanging as the modern man spends hunting collar buttons. Not that it matters. It's the little things in the kitchen that I am most interested in. To be specific, a 10-cent plate scraper. No doubt you have a plate scraper in your kitchen, a half circle of rubber with a wooden handle. Very convenient article when plates are to be scraped for washing. A friend of mine uses a plate scraper to scrape the mixing bowl when making cakes or soft fillings, to clean out lard jars, and to get all the jelly or peanut butter out of the containers. My 10-cent plate scraper was a Christmas gift from Billy. He was with me when I admired a display of kitchen utensils in a hardware store.
"Aunt Sammy,"
said Billy with a magnanimous gesture,
"I will buy you anything there that you want for Christmas, just so it doesn't cost more than 10 cents. Or you can have 2 5-cent presents if you want 'em."
Unfortunately, there were no 5-cent gifts, so I chose a plate scraper. Another gift which I appreciate almost as much as the plate scraper is a new electric iron. Do you remember not so many years ago when ironing day was a real institution? It meant a huge basket of starched and sprinkled clothes, white petticoats with embroidered flouncing and dust ruffles, tailored shirtwaists, and organdie graduating dresses trimmed with yards of tiny double ruffles. We didn't have an electric iron in those days. By sad experience, I have learned that electric irons must be given good care if they are to do good work. One must watch the cord leading from the iron and mend any breaks with insulating tape while the current is turned off. When the ironing is finished and the iron is cold, it should be put in a clean, dry place. If I do not intend to use my iron for some time, I grease the polished surface with lard to keep it from rusting. In case the iron has rusted, I scour it with scouring powder and rub it well afterward with a flannel cloth. A word about my folding ironing board. It is also a Christmas gift from Fred, who is a freshman in high school. He made the board in his manual training class. I am so glad he has graduated to the ironing board stage, because I have enough breadboards and footstools to last a lifetime. If I had the room, I should like to have a table for sheets and other flat pieces, a board for skirts and so forth, and a sleeve board. Since my one board must serve all purposes, I asked to have it made fairly long and wide, with one narrow end. Across this narrow end, Fred tacked a piece of tin, about 8 inches wide, for the iron to stand on. The neatest thing about this board is that it folds right into a little cupboard out of the way. I am particular about my ironing board. It must be firmly padded and covered with a clean white cloth. For padding, I use several thicknesses of an old blanket. Double-faced cotton flannel, the material used for silence cloths on dining tables, is also good. Some people use old sheets for the cover. I prefer new unbleached sheeting. The width of the sheeting makes the length of the cover, so very little material is required. I made the cover myself, hemmed the edges, and sewed 4 pieces of tape firmly to each side. I have seen ready-made covers in the shops. These covers were laced together through eyelets. Someone asked me, once upon a time, if there were any special hints about ironing. I don't believe there are. Of course, one must clean the iron occasionally by rubbing it with wax or paraffin and keep the iron hot enough. A cool iron is likely to leave a rust stain. With starched clothes, the iron must be hot enough to glaze the starch. Otherwise, the starch will stick and discolor the fabric. Always iron with the thread of the goods and iron until the garment is dry. Otherwise, it will pucker. Sometimes there will be a shiny gloss on hems, tucks, and seams of garments. I've found a way to remove this gloss. Moisten a piece of cheesecloth with clear water, wring it dry, and wipe it quickly over the shiny surface. I remove slight scorch stains by moistening the fabric and exposing it to strong sunlight. Of course, deeper scorch stains require bleaches. There is a good deal of information about washing and ironing in the bulletin published recently by the Department of Agriculture. The bulletin is number 1497, entitled Methods and Equipment for Home Laundering. The questions today are about cooking. Please have your pencils ready, for 2 of the questions will be answered with recipes. Question number 1. The upside-down apple cake surely tasted fine, but my apples didn't come out. Some of them stuck to the bottom of the pan. Why did they stick? You remember that the directions for upside-down apple cake stated that the pan should be thickly coated with butter. But sometimes, even if the pan is thoroughly greased, the apples will stick because the sugar doesn't caramelize sufficiently to stick the apples to the cake. This trouble happened once in the experimental kitchens of the Bureau of Home Economics, when the oven wasn't hot enough to caramelize the sugar. I suggest that you try the recipe again, making sure that the pan is well greased. Here's another question. What makes fruit cake fall so often when done, or just about ready to come out of the oven? There are several things that might cause your fruit cake to fall when you think it's just about ready to take from the oven. Maybe you didn't use enough flour to hold up the weight of the fruit. On the other hand, perhaps you have not baked it long enough or slowly enough. A good-sized fruit cake has to bake 3.5 to 4 hours in a very slow oven. Some people prefer to steam their fruit cakes for 3 or 3.5 hours and then bake them a short time to form a crust. Third question. Please tell me how to make pure pork sausage and head cheese. Instead of going into detail about pure pork sausage and head cheese, I'm asking you to send for Farmer's Bulletin number 1186, called Pork on the Farm. It tells all about pork killing, curing, and canning. One section of the bulletin is devoted to home canning of pork and pork products. Bulletin number 1186, called Pork on the Farm. Write to the United States Department of Agriculture for this bulletin. Next question. I would like to have a good recipe for cooking carrots. I hate to admit it, but the only way I can cook carrots is in a stew. Just imagine that limiting such a nice vegetable as a carrot to a stew. Of course, carrots are all right in stews, but there are other ways of cooking them. Mashed carrots, for instance. A very good vegetable dish, too. You know carrots are a. No, I'm going to restrain myself and not say a word about vitamins. The vitamins deserve a day off. For the mashed carrots, you will need 4 ingredients, only 4. 8 to 10 medium-sized carrots. Cream, or rich milk. 2 to 4 tablespoons butter. 1/2 teaspoon salt. Wash and scrape the carrots. Cut them in small pieces. Cook them in a small amount of boiling salted water. When the carrots are tender, press them through a sieve or a potato ricer. Add enough cream, or top milk, to make a creamy consistency. Add the butter also, and a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar if you like. Reheat and serve hot. Here I have 3 requests which have come in during the past few weeks. One is for an eggless cake, one for a milkless cake, and the third for a butterless cake. In the interests of efficiency and Coolidge economy, what would you do in a case like this? Get 3 cake recipes? Of course not. You would get 1 recipe for a cake which is eggless, milkless, and if desired, butterless. The answer is applesauce cake with 11 ingredients. I know everyone can get applesauce. Perhaps you've served applesauce so often that you will welcome a new and appetizing way to serve it. All ready now for the applesauce cake with 11 ingredients. 1 cup sugar. 1/2 teaspoon cinnamon. 1/2 cup shortening. 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg. 1 cup applesauce unsweetened. 2.5 cups flour. 1 cup raisins chopped. 1 teaspoon soda, mixed with 2 tablespoons flour, 2 tablespoons water, 1/2 teaspoon cloves, 1/2 teaspoon salt. I'd better repeat these ingredients. Someone may have missed the applesauce. 1 cup sugar, 1/2 teaspoon cinnamon, 1/2 cup shortening, 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg, 1 cup applesauce unsweetened, 2½ cups flour, 1 cup raisins chopped, 1 teaspoon soda mixed with 2 tablespoons flour, 2 tablespoons water, 1/2 teaspoon cloves, 1/2 teaspoon salt. Cream the sugar and shortening, add the applesauce, and the soda which has been dissolved in the water. Mix and sift the dry ingredients and add them, with the floured raisins, to the first mixture. Beat well, pour into a greased pan and bake in a moderate oven 300 degrees to 250 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1 hour. Tart apples should be used for the sauce. It should be cooked down so that it is not watery, and put through a colander to make it smooth. No sugar should be added to the applesauce. I will see that these recipes are added to the cookbooks. Please be patient if you haven't received your cookbook. I assure you they are being printed as fast as the government printers can get them out. And a word about your questions. When you ask me questions, you need not send stamps for reply. Don't send stamps for cookbooks, bulletins, or answers to your questions. All government mail is sent under frank.
This broadcast was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.